Okay, welcome to Wantrepreneur Wednesday. So this week we are pre-recording this session, and I have my guest here today is Katya Sidelnik, and I probably pronounced that wrong because I never say your last name. I always just say Katya. Everybody knows her as Katya. So welcome to Wantrepreneur Wednesday, where every week I have been featuring a different woman entrepreneur who's just really building an amazing business. And today I want to share with you my guest, Katya, who is, she's an amazing yoga instructor who has now opened a bricks and mortar location, and it's filled with so much more. I'm going to let her explain that. But I did want to just share that introduction. And Katya, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Patty. And I know working this out with a little bit of a different timing, so I could be a part of it.
Yeah, that's okay. So I want you to just introduce yourself to my audience and explain to them who you are and what it is that you do and who it is that you serve.
Okay.
And maybe give a little backstory because you've got quite a story.
Absolutely. So my yoga journey, or more specifically, when I started practicing yoga, started about 7 to 8 years ago. And I had been dancing for 25 years. And so the movement piece of my life, it was the biggest part of everything I did.
What kind of dancing were you doing? Just tell the audience that.
So I originally started with ballet, but I was ending up in my 20s in our Ukrainian dance company. And working with our kids in our Ukrainian dance school as well. So Mondays and weekends and travel time, I was always dancing. And that was how I expressed myself. It was what I did for stress relief. It's what I did for fun. It's what made up most of my life. And so I unfortunately, after 25 years of all the different variations of dancing, accumulated quite a few injuries. And sometimes I wish I could go back to that 16-year-old and tell her to take a night off and to let a sprained ankle heal. But I got to that point and I had a pretty severe injury. And I had a sports doctor that asked me a question. He asked if I wanted to have a hip replacement before I was 35, or if I was ready to give up dancing as much as I was. And my answer did not come very easily. I was very defiant. I didn't know how to let go of something that I thought made me who I was. Very luckily, there was a yoga studio on the first floor where I worked, and I was able to go down and practice yoga every day.
Wow.
I'll never forget one of my biggest role models and mentors throughout the years, regardless if I see her or not, Jessica Carlin. I'll never forget one day in class, I was stuck with how do I move on and create this new identity, or who am I? I don't think I'd ever asked myself who I was in 28 years or what I wanted in my life. And she came over to me. I was crying in the middle of class, and she told me everything was going to be okay. And it was that moment that I knew that I wanted to create that space for others. How it would look, or that I would be opening my own studio and have a brick and mortar, was never even remotely in my radar at that time.
I love that.
It was that acceptance of me where I was. She had no idea what was going on, no non-judgment. I had permission to be me. Beautiful. And this week, since opening and having a studio where I could teach others how to teach, that I could mentor others, that's been one of the greatest compliments. As I had a student walk out last Saturday, and she thanked me for giving her permission to be herself. And it's been the biggest piece this week, that so often we don't give ourselves permission.
So true.
So inner Jasmine came from the word upaksha. And in Sanskrit, it translates to equanimity in the midst of worldly fluctuations. And the flower, the scent, jasmine, all of it, what it represents, brings me peace. this sense of stability in the middle of instability, because we can't control the outside world.
Nope.
So my hope is that Inner Jasmine here as a location ends up bringing peace, some sense of stability, whatever it is that anyone needs, that this is their sanctuary to come, to sit on the couches, to have a cup of tea, to look at one of the books I have in the library. They have permission to fully be.
Well, that's totally the feeling that we get in there. I have known Katya for the last 4 or 5 years. We both worked at the same yoga studio, and she had done a lot of yoga trainings, the 200-hour trainings there, and a lot of different types of workshops there. And this place that she has created now, her own bricks and mortars place, it really is a special place. You can feel it the minute you walk in there. And I think the thing that makes her class is so special is, as you can tell the way she's talking, how she talks, that's how she talks in her classes, and she makes the practice very intentional when she's giving her cues. Whether you're a beginner or you're an advanced person, you feel very comfortable and very you let go of any insecurities because you feel you're in a very safe space, and she guides you through it with intentional cues that just make you feel like so part of that that hour that you're in that space. So I love that. I love that. So tell the audience, I just want you to tell them, like, what was your big why? Why didn't you just stay doing, teaching at all the different studios that you've been teaching at for the past 7 years at all over Chicagoland? Why didn't you just stay doing that? What made you decide to actually go through this? It's a big deal to open a bricks and mortars place. So what was your why?
Finally listening to the universe a little bit. I've always kind of been someone that I kind of need a big boulder thrown at me, that little sprinkles or fairy dust of next paths. I kind of overlook, or my fear and insecurities of what I have to offer isn't enough. That's always been my biggest struggle. And it seems like every 3 years since I started this journey that there's been this transitionary period where the universe has thrown me a boulder and said, you can't go that way. Make another decision, or this is not going to work the same way. And when it happened last November that I had to make a new choice, I sat there and I said, I'm running around everywhere and I love what I do. But I've created my own programs. I've created my own mentoring. I've created my own sequencing development. I need my own space. Some place where people can come to see me to have that, or that I could reach out to others specifically for that. Once I made that decision, that was an easy part. Sticking to it was hard.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of bumps and turns, personal, professional, working and learning how to deal with permitting and different things like that across the way. And I've been very fortunate to have an amazing family and support system. But I've kept reminding myself across the way that this is it. It feels like home. It's right. It's the right next step. And I could sit for 20 reasons of what could make it easier. But I promised myself years ago I would never let fear dictate my life. And the fear of opening, I was not going to allow that to dictate the potential of everything and what it could create. Because that'd be a disservice to myself and others.
Yes. And I usually ask, like, when life or challenges within your business become very hairy, like, what is the mindset? And you just said what your mindset is, that come, hell or high water, you're doing this, right? I mean, that's what happens as entrepreneurs. You get to that point where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what boulder's in front of you. You are going to figure out a way around it because it's so much part of what you have to do, right?
And there's no problem. It's a solution.
Yes.
I will 100% say that throughout this process, every time something came in and I had to remind people around me, I go, we don't have any problems. All we have is solutions. We just have
So
an option.
true. So I know you come from a psychology background.
Yes.
And do you feel like that in some ways led you through this journey into yoga as well? Because there's a lot of overlapping foundations of psychology with the foundations and philosophies of yoga. Do you feel that there's some blending of that?
I do. And I actually had a little bit of a hard time my last year with my clinical master's because of labeling and diagnosing. It just didn't feel very natural to me to put people in a box. And that was one of those biggest things that the humanistic existential approach to people and understanding how we see the world just resonated with me. And that is very much so yoga philosophy.
Yes.
When I walked into yoga afterwards, I felt like I finally had words for how I saw the world.
Yeah.
And it just fit. And it is one of those things, like our mind is just very powerful. And so however we work to understand it, however we work to overcome negative feeling, thought, or understand it, because we really can't necessarily push it away. We shouldn't separate ourselves. It's being able to embrace both parts of ourselves, all of it.
Yes,
But
yes.
not allowing it to control us.
Yes.
And that's our asana. Our asana, our physical practice, acts as that catalyst so much to create those opportunities to understand, to perceive, and once we're aware, then we are empowered to make the choice, whether that serves us or it no longer does. And if it doesn't, we have to let it go. But that's for no one else to say besides each person. It's each person's journeys to make, not mine or anyone else's to tell them.
Yeah, you just provide that beautiful space to let it unfold for them.
Yes.
The way that it's meant to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let me ask you, if you were to talk to a young woman or any age woman and she wanted to start a business, what would be your best piece of advice that you'd give to her?
To follow her intuition.
Yeah.
Just to follow her gut. I mean, the number one thing is to go and to do it and to never stop. It's not easy. There's no script. There's no one way. And it will work. It will.
Yeah. I like the saying, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. It's very simple, but never easy at all.
Right. Right. So one last question that I love to ask entrepreneurs is, what has been your best mistake thus far?
Ooh, that's a good one. My best mistake. You know, it's interesting. The word mistake always catches me because I feel like we always have choices, and choices lead to the next choice. So there's never a mistake, but there's sometimes that missed opportunity that needed to happen to allow the next one to happen. So in that mindset, I should have written my first teacher training over a year and a half before I did. But because of the timing that I did, I had a studio that allowed me to rent their space and to run it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, situation and timing, I didn't have that location to continue, which brought me to this location. So I feel like sometimes you look back and you're like, oh gosh, I wish. But then it's like, but I wouldn't have gotten here.
Mm-hmm. So true.
When I look back at everything, they're all choices that led to the next choice. And each decision led to the next. And some were better than others. Some I definitely jumped out of as quickly as I could once I realized. But it did provide me something that I needed today. So the best mistake was to keep making choices and never stop.
Awesome. I love that. So tell the audience where they can find you both online and offline. Because there's a big local audience that watches this. So
wonderful. So locally in Chicago, my bricks and mortar is located in downtown Hinsdale, 45 South Washington. It is the Alexander building, so we are working on the outdoor signage, but if you walk in the doors up to the 3rd floor, you'll see little signs on the way to guide you. And then
it's right above, isn't it?
yes.
The florist, right?
It's right above Halo Salon,
There
right
we go.
to Phillips Flowers.
Yes.
So we're right there in the middle, and right up the staircase. And then online, it is www.innerjasmine.com. So the schedule is also linked to Mind and Body. So you can use your Mind and Body app to find classes in the Hinsdale area, book online, sign to come in. Just quite a few classes open right now for anyone coming in interested to explore, and just some open hours. The weekend of July 14th and 15th will be the official open house grand opening. So if that's a time that works, kind of the evenings, afternoons, we'll have some special surprises here throughout the weekend. And
also on Facebook, do you have an Inner Jasmine page? Where is that?
Jasmine on Facebook, so Inner Jasmine, and on Instagram and Twitter. So all 3 of those link directly to Inner Jasmine itself, and always posting schedules and pictures and different events too.
Fun. Also, one last thing, tell the audience about your teacher trainings and about, I know you do retreats, and also about the opportunity to other instructors.
Sure.
That's something you want to share?
Yes. So September 7th, I will have 2 teacher trainings running. So one of the teacher trainings is going to run as a 6-month program, meeting twice a month on weekends, but with a little bit of time off for the holidays, and a 12-month program. So those that have children, jobs, and families, or different commitments have a little more balance versus a 3 or 4 time a week program for a shorter amount of time. The main difference in my teacher training is that you do learn how to write your own sequence. And in writing your own sequence, you then teach that sequence in 5 community classes individually. So that to me was very important when I started mentoring other teachers down the line, of understanding intention of postures and how to order them. For current teachers, I do have continuing education workshops always. Some more will be popping up on the schedule for the rest of the year. And I do have a monthly mentoring program. So my intention for that is that once a month, we would meet either virtually or in person here at the studio to talk about either their personal practice, figuring out personal balance, working on their sequences, anything to do within their personal professional connection to yoga itself or in the lifestyle, so they know that they have someone to talk to. So often once you graduate after year 200, you seem to almost like kind of fall away. And there isn't necessarily that person to go to. And I want people to come here. So individually we'll have sessions, but then I'll have little mingle groups as well for anyone that's a part of the mentoring program to come in to talk, and we'll open studio hours for them to work and together and just kind of enjoy the space. And then really fun, the retreat is coming up quickly, but there are just a few spots kind of lingering that just kind of happened this weekend. So they are available, and it is up in Everett, Michigan. And what I love about Everett, Michigan is that it's a beautiful site. Beautiful deer are eating around the ponds at their feeding areas and walking through. But we have this time 4 nights, so Thursday evening all the way through Monday morning, so July 19th all the way through. And you get to wake up to do meditation. You get to work on physical postures one-on-one with me. You can take walks. It's one of those beautiful things that you have a schedule that I can provide to you of what's going to happen. But if you wake up one morning and you want to go for a walk and sit by the water, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I was there last year, and it was awesome, beautiful. It's just taking that time out for yourself when you normally don't. And one thing I do want to mention is that, Katya's classes are all levels, so beginners are welcome. It doesn't just guide towards the advanced yogi. It's open. Her classes are open for all levels. So something
I would welcome anyone kind of coming in to be able to feel that, because it is that support of first time on your mat or 50th time on your mat to work together. But then I also do private sessions as well to be able to create, whether it is a brand new practice to learn what poses are and how your body feels in them, or even established practice and you want to continue learning in something else.
Yes. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, Katya, for spending a few minutes here and sharing with everyone of what it is that you have going on. I've been so happy to see you turn into this butterfly, keep blooming and blooming bigger and bigger. It's just awesome.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome. So that will be a wrap for this week's Entrepreneur Wednesday. So if you're a woman out there who's kind of thinking about what's next in life and you're just in a fog, that is something that I do help women with. I help them clear out the fog and figure out what's next in their life, and help you, guide you, and empower you to take action and move forward so that you can live this one amazing life. So have an amazing day, and we will see you back here next week.